You've been lied to. Since you were a kid, you've been programmed with a lie so big, so heavy, and so expensive that you're going to spend the next 30 years of your life paying for it with your blood, sweat, and tears. They told you that the American dream, or the dream of whatever country you're currently wasting oxygen in, is to own a home, a white picket fence, a yard, and a mortgage. Do you know what that really is? It's a prison cell, a very nice cell, with granite countertops and central heating, but a cell nonetheless. If you think your house is your biggest asset, you are financially illiterate. Your house is a liability. It's a black hole that swallows money, mobility, and freedom. And today, I'm going to prove to you mathematically why buying a house is probably the stupidest financial decision you'll ever make in your young life. Stick around until the end, because I'm going to give you the freedom formula. It's a simple 3-step calculation I made years ago that led me to sell all my mansions. Yes, all of them. When you see the result of that formula, you're going to want to call your real estate agent and fire them on the spot. But first, we need to deprogram your brain. Let's start with the basics. Why are you so obsessed with buying bricks? It's biological, I get it. Your lizard brain wants a cave. It wants security. It wants to know that no predator is going to come and kick you out. But we don't live in the Pleistocene era. We live in a globalized digital economy. And in this economy, static security is death. Let's talk about the word mortgage. It comes from Old French mortgage. Do you know what that literally means? Death pledge. It's not a poetic joke. It's a literal description of the contract. You pledge to pay until you die or until the debt is cleared. It's a blood pact with a bank that, by the way, has absolutely no interest in you being free. The bank wants you to be predictable. It wants you to stay in that job you hate, in that city that bores you. Religiously paying interest month after month. If you have a 30-year mortgage, you are a docile slave. You can't risk starting a company. You can't move to another country if an incredible opportunity pops up. You can't say screw you to your boss because the bank will take away your precious cave. Society applauds you when you sign the mortgage. Your parents tell you, "That's great, you finally settled down." Your envious friends come to the housewarming party. But what you've actually done is put on a pair of golden handcuffs. You've traded your future optionality, your ability to pivot, to change, to grow, for 4 plaster walls that, spoiler alert, are going to crack. And here comes the first reality check. Opportunity cost. People say, but renting is throwing money away. That is a poor person's favorite phrase. Renting is throwing money away. Fascinating. Do you know what throwing money away is? Paying interest. Let's run some quick numbers. If you buy a $500,000 house at current interest rates, at the end of 30 years, you will have paid almost $1 million. You paid for the house twice. Once for you, and a bonus one for the banker. That extra $500,000 gave you nothing. It evaporated. It's smoke. If you had rented and invested the difference between your mortgage payment and the rent into the S&P 500, or tech stocks, or even Bitcoin if you have the stomach for it, you'd have a fortune. But no, you preferred the security of being an owner. Congratulations, you are the proud owner of a roof you have to fix every time it hails. But wait, the torture doesn't end with the mortgage. That's just the cover charge for the club of pain. Let's talk about phantom costs, those expenses nobody mentions on the bank's pretty spreadsheet. Maintenance, the boiler breaks, $2,000. The basement floods, $5,000. The roof leaks, $10,000. Who pays for that? You do. When you rent, if the toilet explodes, you call the landlord. It's their problem. It's their money. You go on with your life. When you own, you are the janitor of your own life. You spend your weekends at hardware stores buying screws instead of building the future or learning quantum physics. You're wasting cognitive bandwidth on domestic trivia, taxes. The government charges you for the privilege of owning property, And guess what? Those taxes never go down. If your area becomes trendy and your house is worth more, the government says, "Thank you, pay me more." It's a legalized pyramid scheme. You never really own your house. Stop paying your property taxes and you'll see who the real owner is. The state will come and take it from you. You are just a glorified tenant of the government with a massive debt. Insurance, HOA fees, special assessments, landscaping. Add all that up. Add the mortgage interest. Add the opportunity cost of the down payment. That money, those $50,000 or $100,000 you dropped all at once, could have been the seed for your own company. It could have been your freedom. But you buried it in concrete. Literally. And the worst part of all? The illusion of appreciation. Oh, but my house will go up in value. Over the long term, real estate barely beats inflation. It's a mediocre store of value. Yes, there are bubbles. Yes, some people got lucky in 2005. But as a systematic investment strategy, putting 80% of your net worth into a single illiquid immobile asset that is subject to natural disasters is pure insanity. No sane hedge fund manager would make that bet. But you, Bob the accountant, think it's a masterstroke. I'm going to tell you a secret about truly rich people. Not Instagram rich, Forbes rich. The rich own cash-flowing assets like businesses, stocks, patents, or software. They use that cash flow to rent luxuries. I sold all my houses. I had mansions in Bel Air, historical homes, incredible properties. Do you know what I felt when I signed the last sale? Sadness, nostalgia. I felt like a 1,000-pound backpack had been lifted off my shoulders. My mind was freed. I no longer had to worry if the security system at house number 3 was failing or if the gardeners at house number 5 were stealing. All that mental noise vanished. And that silence is where innovation is born. You can't get to Mars if you're worried about the color of the curtains in your living room. Now, let's pause. I know what you're thinking. You're angry. You're thinking, it's easy for you to say, you have billions. If I don't buy a house, I'll end up living under a bridge when I'm old. That's fear talking. It's the FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, that the system injects into you. Let me take you back in time, the 90s. When I arrived in Silicon Valley, I had no money, literally. My first company was just a tiny office. My brother and I couldn't afford an apartment and an office. So we slept in the office. We showered at the YMCA on the corner. Do you think at that moment I was worried about getting on the property ladder? If I had used the little money we got from investors for a down payment on a safe apartment, that company would have died. My future companies wouldn't exist. I bet everything on myself. I bet on my ability to create value, not on a brick's ability to go up in price. People radically underestimate the value of mobility. Imagine you get offered your dream job. It pays triple. The project will change the world, but it's in Singapore, or Berlin, or Austin. If you rent, you break the lease, pay a small penalty, pack your bags, and go. In 2 weeks, you're starting your new life. If you own a house, you have an anchor. Oh, I have to sell it. The market is bad right now. It'll take 6 months. I have to paint it to show it. What do I do with the furniture? The stress paralyzes you, and you let the opportunity pass. That house just cost you millions of dollars in lost future income. That is the true cost. The cost of the life. You didn't live because you were tied to a zip code. We live in the era of the nomadic worker, of global talent. Tying yourself down geographically is planned obsolescence for your career. You have to be light. You have to be a financial ninja. A ninja doesn't wear a 200-pound suit of plate armor. They wear the bare minimum to be fast and lethal. Your net worth should be the same. Liquid, stocks, crypto, bonds, gold, intellectual property, things you can carry on a flash drive or manage from a laptop. If a war breaks out tomorrow, or a pandemic, or the government goes crazy, can you carry your house on your back? No. It stays there. It's an easy target. Your digital assets go with you. But there's something deeper here. Ego. We buy houses to impress people we don't care about. It's the ultimate middle-class status symbol. Look, I have a yard. Great, you have a patch of dirt where dogs poop and that you have to water. What status? Society has turned homeownership into a fetish. Have you noticed how conversations change when someone says, "I bought a house"? Everyone nods with solemn approval. It's like a religious rite. Nobody claps when you say, "I invested $50,000 in a diversified index fund, and I rent an efficient apartment near my work to minimize my commute time." They look at you weird. They look at you like you're unstable. What if the landlord kicks you out? I'll find another apartment. There are millions. It's not the end of the world. That need for external validation is what keeps you poor. Real wealth is invisible. Real wealth is schedule freedom. It's waking up in the morning and saying, "What do I want to build today?" instead of, "How am I going to pay the mortgage this month?" When you buy a house at the very limit of what you can afford, which is what almost everyone does, you become risk-averse. You stop pitching crazy ideas at work for fear of getting fired. You stop investing in your education. You become a silent cog just to protect your cave. The bank doesn't just have your money, it has your balls. I want you to imagine your life 10 years from now. Scenario A. Your house is half paid off. You've spent a decade stressed out, fixing faucets, arguing with neighbors, and your net worth is stuck in those walls. Your career stagnated because you couldn't move. You are safe, but you are irrelevant. Scenario B. You rented, lived light. You aggressively invested every dollar that didn't go to a mortgage. You traveled. You changed cities 3 times chasing the best opportunities. You learned languages, skills, met incredible people, because you weren't locked in your suburb on weekends. Your net worth has tripled, and it's liquid. Which one of the two are you? It's funny, people think I'm an alien or a robot, but I'm just someone who applies first principles logic to everything. First principle of housing, it's shelter. It protects you from the rain and the cold. Do I need to own the shelter to use it? No. Is it more efficient to rent the shelter service than to own the infrastructure? In many cases, yes. It's like Spotify. You don't need to buy CDs of every song. You rent access to all the music in the world. Renting is the Spotify of housing. Access without the deadweight. Why do you want the scratched physical CD taking up space when you can have all the music in the cloud? I promised you a formula, and I always deliver eventually. Here is the 5% rule. If you want to know if you should buy or rent, forget your emotions. Use this. Take the value of the house you want to buy. Let's say $500,000. Multiply that by 5%. That's $25,000 a year. Divide it by 12 months. That's about $2,080 a month. That is your unrecoverable capital break-even point. Why 5%? 1% is property taxes on average. 1% is average maintenance costs. And I'm being generous. It's usually more. 3% is the cost of capital. That's the money you're losing by having your cash tied up in the house instead of in the market, plus mortgage interest. Total 5%. If you can rent a similar house for less than $2,080 a month, renting is financially superior. You are throwing away less money renting than buying. Yes, you heard me right. When you buy, you also throw away money. You throw away money on interest, taxes, and maintenance. That money doesn't come back. Run the numbers in your city. You'll be surprised. In most major cities today, renting is drastically cheaper than buying if you factor in unrecoverable costs. But of course, people don't do math. People do dreams. I want to paint the wall purple. Paint it. And when you leave, paint it white again. It'll cost you $100 in an afternoon. Buying a $500,000 house for the right to choose the paint color is the most expensive whim in history. Now, let's talk about the exception. I know someone in the comments will be screaming, But the leverage, yes, if you are a professional real estate investor, if you buy to rent to others, if you know how to renovate and add value, then debt is a tool. But I'm not talking about real estate investing. I'm talking about your house, where you sleep. Your primary residence is not an investment. It's consumption. It's a luxury. Treat it as such. If you're a billionaire and want to buy an island, go for it. But don't lie to yourself saying it's a smart investment. It's a giant toy. For 99% of the people watching me, buying a house is trying to play real estate investor with their kids' food money without having a clue what they're doing. I propose a challenge, a radical challenge. Sell or don't buy. Take that down payment money. Open a brokerage account. Buy the S&P 500 index. Or buy a tech ETF. Or invest in your own education. Learn to code. Learn AI. Learn to sell. Become the asset yourself. A house cannot learn new things. A house cannot have $1 million idea. You can. Invest in the biological machine between your ears. That machine has an infinite return on investment. A brick has a limited return. Besides, think about the future. We are on the verge of massive changes. Autonomous transport. When cars drive themselves at high speeds through tunnels and hyperloops, location will matter less. You'll be able to live 60 miles outside the city and commute in 20 minutes. Property values in the center will collapse. 3D printing of houses. We are starting to see houses printed in 24 hours for a fraction of the cost. Traditional construction is archaic. It's stacking one brick on top of another, just like in Egypt 4,000 years ago. It's ridiculous. It's going to be disrupted. If you buy a house today, you are buying obsolete technology at gold prices. Would you buy a horse right before Ford releases the Model T? That's what you're doing buying a Victorian mansion today. And don't even get me started on Mars. On Mars, there will be no mortgages. There will be resource allocation based on utility. Private property, as we understand it, is a very earthbound concept, heavily based on artificial scarcity. The future is abundance. The future is access, not possession. Do you want to be a citizen of the future or a 19th century landlord? Listen, I'm not telling you to live in a cardboard box. I'm telling you to live smart. Live wherever you want. Enjoy nice houses, but pay someone else to take on the risks. Be the user, not the owner. Be the one who enjoys it, not the one who fixes it. Freedom isn't having the keys to a house. Freedom is having the keys to your time. If you have a 30-year mortgage, the bank holds the keys to your time. If you rent and have your assets generating money in the market, you hold the keys. Imagine waking up tomorrow knowing that if your neighbor plays loud music at 3 a.m., you can move next month. That is peace of mind. Imagine knowing that if the housing market crashes by 40%, you don't care. Because your money is diversified in the best companies in the world, not in 4 walls in a neighborhood that might go bad in 10 years. You are one decision away from unplugging from the matrix. The blue pill is signing the mortgage, buying IKEA furniture, watching Netflix, and waiting for retirement at 65. The red pill is renting, investing aggressively, living light, taking risks, creating, failing, creating again, and maybe, just maybe, doing something extraordinary with your life. I took the red pill. I sold everything. And I've never been happier. The question is, do you have the courage to drop the anchor? Or are you going to keep rowing with the parking brake on? The house always wins. If you play by its rules, stop playing house. Start building an empire. Your empire is you. Oh, and one last thing. I promised a final secret for those who stayed until the very last second. Do you know what the only real estate asset actually worth buying is? Land. Empty dirt. Land in places where physics dictates people will have to go. Spaceports, energy nodes. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that in the next video, where I'll show you my personal map of where I'm buying land for the future of civilization. And no, it's not on Earth. If you want to see that map, you know what button to push. Don't be an NPC in your own life. Wake up.